are some costs that go with having that job. So taxes, unavoidable. If you are working in the United States, and you want to have a salary here, you are going to be paying some taxes. So the tax bracket, this is a percentage. So like you might be in the 28% bracket, the 32% bracket, depending on how much you make. So, and then we'll look at how that works. The United States tax system uses is a marginal tax system. And so this is kind of interesting. So depending on how much you make, you pay a higher percentage of taxes on the marginal amount above the previous bracket. It's also supposed to be a progressive tax system, meaning the more money you make, the higher the percentage of taxes you pay. The reality of that is that not how it works. You've probably seen the graphics on terms of how the tax rate seems to go up, 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 and then when you get to that top 1%, the tax rate is actually lower. I can get you some stuff on that later if you so inclined, but it is interesting to see how that has started to occur in the United States. It used to be, you know, if you were in the bottom, oh my, if you were in the bottom tax bracket, so below a threshold here, you know, you paid 19% tax on that. And then if you made a little bit above that, you would still be taxed at 19%. And here's the bottom, $0. Whatever you made over this threshold, and I can't remember what the threshold is right now. I think it's 38,000 or something like that. Then you would pay a little bit more tax on the money you made up to, I think it's 45. I'd have to look these up. I'm totally making these numbers up right now. And that would be the 24% bracket. But you only pay 24% on this little bit in here. And then there's the 28% bracket and the 32% bracket. And it's only on that little bit that's over that. So, you know, it's not like if I made $38,001, suddenly I owe 24% on all of it. I only owe 24% on that extra dollar. The 38,000 below is still taxed at 19%. But this is actually kind of a complicated math problem to figure out. Luckily for us, the fine folks over here at moneychimp.com have a calculator that can do this for us. And so we're going to jump over there. Let's see if I can get there. Hey, that link worked. So let me move the share over to you guys as soon as it finishes loading. MoneyChimp is a site that we're going to use a fair amount just because they have some really handy calculators for us. And so once you start seeing how much money you make, this will give you the bad news. So in the tax year 2019, let's see, how much was that doctor making? Like $300,000. Qualified dividends, long-term capital gains. That would be if you had investments and stuff like that. We won't worry about this. We'll just leave all the rest of that at default level and calculate. And notice the bad news. If you make that kind of money, you owe this kind of taxes. So now these are annual amounts. This is the worksheet that we're going to be filling out later. It does stuff monthly, so you would divide that by 12. But obviously, if you're dividing by 12, you still get a picture of why maybe if you have your parents ever talk to you about their taxes, they may complain about them because that is a whole lot of money each month. If you take $75,924 and divide it by 12, you get that they owe $6,327 per month to pay their taxes. And that's just income taxes, guys. There are other kinds of taxes out there. Um, so when we get a little bit more into the work, we'll actually take a look at something called Social Security tax, which is also unavoidable if you're making an income here in the good old USA. So MoneyChimp's a great site. We will continue to use it. As I mentioned, they are very good at simplifying the progressive marginal tax system that the U.S. operates on, so that we just have to type in, here's how much I make a month or a year. Tell me what my taxes will be. Other things that are in here, we have student loans to pay back. The reality is most people do. Some people don't. Some people get through without having student loans to pay, which is fantastic. But if you're like me or any of my children that went to college, you're going to have student loans to pay. And so we're going to try and figure out what would that monthly loan payment be. And then medical insurance and dental plan. If you remember on salary.com, there was some stuff in there about benefits, and you can sometimes find it in there. A lot of times these are included, but maybe you have to pay a small bit. For example, for me as a teacher, I pay $123 a month for medical insurance. The bulk of the premium, because the premium is actually several $100s a month, gets paid by my employer. Dental plan, I actually don't pay any money from a dental plan. So, or at least I didn't used to. I'd have to double check that since they roll this over into the new plan. All right, so let me just give you a brief overview here. So in the end, our goal, what we want to do for this project is we want to figure out your income, and we want to figure out your expenses. Okay, and in the end, okay, if we take income minus expenses, we get how much we can contribute to savings. Now, when I worked with clients in the past, I always operated on a pretty simple ratio method to try and help people understand what it means to. Some people use the phrase like, "Oh, you should live within your means," and it sounds great. Okay, until you say, "Well, what does that actually mean? Like, what does it mean when somebody says, 'Oh, you're not living within your means,' right?" Come on. So your parents may talk about that, or you may never have heard that before. I don't know, but I found that in working with clients over the years that people have different definitions of what this means. Some people would say, well, as long as you can pay all your bills every month, you're living within your means. Other people would say, oh, well, no, living within your means, that's when you have enough savings that you could lose your job and still make and still live for 6 months without having any financial hardships. So there was a pretty wide gap. And what I found that most people could understand better was a simple ratio, 70, 10, 10, 10. And the idea is pretty simple, but hard for a lot of folks to manage. What you should do with your income, once you've taken and you've got your income and you take out the taxes, because the taxes are unavoidable. Okay, so this is, we're talking about now what people will call their take-home salary. Okay, is we have something where we're going to say, all right, 70% of your money, this is a percentage, that goes for living expenses. We'll take a look later at what living expenses are, but basic stuff that you need to live. You know, we're going to look at rent, we're going to look at utilities, we're going to look at food, we're going to look at transportation costs, all those things that you need to live and do your job. We try to get that, so that only takes up 70% of our take home. Then we have 10%, and this is going to go to a short-term savings account. I mean, this is just cash. Not necessarily like you have a pile of cash in a drawer somewhere in your bathroom or your closet. Could be a savings account. But this is money that you could access very quickly. So that if you had a transmission on your car goes out, or you know, suddenly your water heater breaks, you know, so that you could go to a bucket of money that you have somewhere and easily get the cash to pay for that, so you don't have to borrow money to do it. Okay, 10% of that take-home money goes for gifts. Now you might think, what are you, crazy, Ray? Why would we spend 10% of our money on gifts? Well, as you get older, you'll find that you do spend money on giving gifts to people or things. This could be charitable giving. This could be tithing to your church. This could be, you know, just buying gifts for family members and friends. But again, I like to have a plan for the money. If I'm going to spend it, we try to plan for it. Now, sometimes these two get merged together, because maybe you have just one savings account. So then 20% of your take-home money is going to help fill that bucket up, so that you have money in there for gifts and for those short-term emergencies. However you get there, you know, I like to plan on this one. You know, especially there's a lot of folks out there who donate a lot of money, and so let's budget for it. This guy, last 10%. This is our long-term savings plan. This is what I spent so much time working with people on, is how do they allocate money for long-term savings, for those needs that they know they're going to have, but they're way out there in the future. We're talking more than 7 years away. Okay, it looks like a Z. I'll fix that. All right. Oh, get the pen back out there. More than 7 years away. So you might be thinking like retirement, right? I know I've been thinking a lot about retirement lately, because I feel like I'm semi-retired right now with this strange kind of teaching going on. If you are going to have a family and you're going to have kids that want to go to college, then maybe this is how you save up for college for your kids. Whatever it is, the long-term savings idea, that's we're going to spend a fair amount of time on this one later on. So we're going to try and figure out if we can, based on the job that you think you want when you graduate, the expenses to live where you want to live and live how you want to live, can we work it out so that you are living within this sort of a structure, where 70% of your take home is going to be how you spend your money for living expenses. 10% of your money is going to short-term savings for emergency purposes. 10% of your money is going to the gifts fund, so that you can buy, you know, Mother's Day cards and Father's Day cards and presents for your, you know,